Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of the Mandatory Live. Remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO. And wherever you find your shows, podcasts, wherever you stream them, you can find us there as well because we are on the audio side. And if you got a couple of minutes, leave a rate and review. Maybe give us a 5-star because why wouldn't you? But nonetheless, lots to get into. We do want to thank you for rocking with the show, as I mentioned before. And if you already hit that like and subscribe button. But Bryan, we had to do the show because you were at the fight this past weekend. You were covering it. And listen, this fight went how I think a lot of people didn't really envision it. I'm talking about the main event, Gervonta, Tank Davis, and Lamont Roach. This fight ended with a little bit of controversy with the majority draw. So we are going to break it all down, talk about what's next, which of course I think we kind of know what's next. But nonetheless, Bryan, you were at the fight. So let's start off there really quickly. What was the vibe like? Because there were a lot of, I guess, some people saying that the vibe was kind of off for Tank.
For Tank, yeah. I thought you meant for the arena because I was going to go in a whole different direction.
Well, you could do both. Tell us, man. For the people that weren't there, we want to know.
There's
And
a
by
really
yeah,
there's a really good joke somebody told me about the atmosphere of the arena that I cannot. We have to do it off air, unfortunately. It's a really good joke. Um, there's a lot of people. I'll put it to you this way: a lot of people try to wear their best stuff.
is it
This
not their best stuff though? Does it come off as corny?
comes off as revealing. That's what I'll
Okay.
say.
Okay. I get what you're trying to say here. I'm picking up what you're dropping.
Yeah, some people, not everybody, and then a lot of people, they're having a good time. Lines were long for a lot of shit, um, and boxing has progressively done. What I'll say is like as far as, and people won't care about this part, but I'm going to say it anyway because self involvement. But like as far as media treatment, could be better. And when I started covering, I've been covering boxing long enough to know that when I started covering it, you were actually ringside at Barclays Center, where the rows are like right there next to the ring, and now they've moved the fans up because they want to charge fans a lot more money for those seats. It's kind of like why fans have courtside seats now when media used to be there. It's just a money thing, and then they've moved some media back. But anyway, as far as the vibe for Tank, to answer the important part of your question, yeah, he seemed off to me. Um, in the fight itself, like leading up to it, I can't really tell. In the media workout, he did not participate, but I also could chalk that up to Tank being Tank. Media workout, for people who don't know, because we didn't do a show. We actually no, we did do a show after this, but we didn't talk about it a lot. Media workout is basically something you do the week of the fight, and they had it at Gleason's gym, which is customary for PBC cards at Barclays Center. They'll use Gleason's gym, which is a gym in Brooklyn, legendary gym. Paulie Malignaggi trained there, Heather Hardy trained there. A whole bunch of fighters, Yuri Foreman. There are a lot better ones too that I could mention that I'm not really thinking of right now, but world champions have trained there. And the idea is you go into this scrum, you go into a media workout, like you get into the ring, you shadow box, you hit pads or whatever, and then you do a media scrum after, then you leave. Tank, he did just the interview that you do before all this with the PBC guy, so not with the media. He did the interview in the ring. He showed up in a wrinkly ass gray hoodie and pink sweats. He honestly looked like he just woke up from a nap. So he did the interview and just left. He didn't do media workout. He didn't do the press conference or the media scrum. And people who watch the live stream probably know this, but like all week, it's just kind of felt like, all right, like maybe Tank is going to do the Tank thing. And that never happened on fight night. It was weird.
It's kind of interesting, but I feel like even heading towards this fight, there was a little bit of controversy. Like at one point, Tank said the fight was off. And then we get into the fight, and Tank's talking about retiring possibly. Like there's
Yeah.
so many factors going into this fight. And then also, he's not only just training with Calvin Ford, right? He also has another trainer in his corner, and Barry Hunter. And this is the thing about it, is that I think we've been so used to seeing a guy like Calvin Ford with Gervonta Tank Davis. And let's be serious here, when you switch trainers, it's not always going to be the same.
Not a switch.
Well, not switch, but like
According
not
to
having your not having your main trainer. Like
they
they'll
were,
tell you
because they were there, both of them, and they try to clear this up
in the corner too, both of them in the corner. Which, by the way, this is my only point. When there's too many voices in that corner, that's not a good thing. And you can play it off for like the media and the fans to be like,
Sure.
no, we're working together. This is a team effort. Like, you know how that goes, Bryan.
Calvin Ford would say that the dynamic was unchanged. To what degree is that true? I don't know. Like there are people online speculating that there's friction between Calvin Ford and Gervonta Davis. I don't personally know. And I don't think they would tell us if that's the case either. So like that's just how that one goes. What I do know is that, and we'll get to some comments because we have a few already. Thank you for checking in. As always, like, comment, subscribe, super chats we will get to right away as well. Thank you for supporting. I think just Tank's performance itself felt off. He did the customary thing where he was very inactive in the first couple rounds, and then he started picking it up. But as he picked it up, like, he tried to get to his left uppercut and couldn't. There were certain things that he tried to implement that he just wasn't getting to. He was getting hit, I felt like, more often than normal. And Lamont Roach deserves a ton of credit for doing a really good job of making Tank uncomfortable and boxing in a way that really made this fight close. And really, if we're being real about it, Lamont Roach should have won because of the knockdown, if you will, or Gervonta Davis, the controversy around him, taking a knee and it not being called a knockdown at round 9. Like, mathematically, Lamont Roach wins that fight if that's called a knockdown, and that's a big swing there because 2 judges had that round going to Tank, whereas it should have been 10-8 for Lamont Roach the entire way. Just a weird night. It felt like when Tank was going to do the thing where it's like, all right, now he started to pick it up or whatever. And it felt like that in the middle of the rounds. And we were watching the fight being like, yo, Lamont Roach, like, if he's going to win this and get a fair shake from the judges, he needs to get more active with his hands. He needs to throw a little bit more. And then Tank ends up kind of like not being as active as you want him to be on a consistent basis. Like, he does it in spurts. And the power felt like it was there to some extent, but then Lamont Roach would take all these punches well. So it's just a weird performance, and I don't know how the second fight's going to play out. WBA is apparently going to, request that this is the rematch, but Gervonta Davis said in the press conference that this fight's probably not going to happen until 2026, and that we're going to find out soon what his next move is, because he's saying, hey, we're actually going to somebody came into my locker and we're gonna fight, somebody else next, and it wasn't Shakur Stevenson. Just fucking weird. Just an entirely weird and ominous night, honestly.
Yeah, going back to the Calvin Ford and Barry Hunter thing, I want to go back to everyone saying that there's some issues with Calvin Ford and Tank. Like, we don't know that. That's speculation. Also, when you're in a fight and you're in the corner, things can get heated. Right. There were times where if you're watching on TV, you could hear that, Tank at one point, like, wasn't trying to have what they were saying. Like, he was saying what was going on too. Like, there's a little bit of back and forth. So I think that's really important. But going back to the fight, Bryan, like you talked about it, the knee that Tank took. When he explained it, though, you're like, okay, Tank's IQ is like pretty solid there. But if that was counted as a knockdown, for sure. But let's go back to the fight, because I actually watched the fight back 3 times, and I had Lamont Roach winning 7 rounds to 5.
Okay.
And so
you're not alone. You're not alone.
I actually had Lamont Roach winning that fight, and I tried to score it 3 times, and I got the same thing 3 times. So to me, Tank didn't win that fight. But hey, there's always that one fight on a boxer's record where it's questionable, and this is going to be Tank's. I hate to say it, right? It's going to be a majority draw on his record, but it's going to be that one fight where everyone, boxing fans, purists, whatever you want to call it, it's like, well, I don't know if he won that fight. Now, here's the thing. I think Tank should avenge this loss. Like, I think that's the number one thing that he should do, because this is the first time.
To be fair.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, majority.
It should have been a loss.
I think we all kind of know that. But I mean, I think Tank should avenge it and he should shut everyone up, because I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. After, like, let's give big props to Lamont Roach. I think everyone had him possibly getting knocked out in this fight.
Yeah.
And he kept on telling us, like, yo, I've known Tank for a while. We fought in the amateurs. Even when we fought in the amateurs, I thought I didn't get a fair shake.
Yeah.
They went to the boxing commission and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And Lamont Roach showed up, took some big shots from Tank, and also landed some big shots on Tank. Like, Tank's, I think there was one punch specifically where Tank's legs were definitely wobbly. I'm not the one where he took a knee, but that could have been it too.
I know what you're talking about. It
But
was the right hand. Caught
yeah,
it partially caught him, like, he was kind of off balance too, like with his footwork.
yeah,
Because
but it caught him. It definitely caught him.
like in the moment, it looked like he wobbled him bad. But then when I watched it again, I was like, oh, his feet just don't look like totally under him. Because then after he
Yeah,
took the shot, he was fine. He was moving around fine. So I
yeah,
don't know.
but
It was still like
I still think it was a big shot.
Lamont Roach was landing on him though. Like that's kind of the point.
100%.
Like he landed. He was way more impressive in this fight than Isak Cruz was against Tank, and we had this reaction like Isak Cruz, like fucking knocked over, a mountain or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be after this fight, and Tank was hurt in that one. Wasn't hurt here, just his hair was bothering him, which
Okay, let's talk about that. I want to talk about that. I believe Tank about the hair grease. I hate
you're not
to
alone.
say it. I hate to say it, you guys. He's not lying there. Like, that can really, like, that hurts. Imagine you're getting some type of product in your eye, right? Like, I believe it. Like, he's not gonna go there and just like talk some BS. I really believe that the hair grease was affecting his eyesight. Like, what did you think about that, Bryan? Because, like, who would pull that out of thin air?
I'm looking for this tweet right now. I'm gonna find it.
Okay.
So I can put this up. But there were a couple tweets about this where I was like, look, I believe them too, because it was like it was
No
funny
one's
because
gonna lie. That's like a weird thing to lie about. Like,
he
I don't
said
think he lied about that at all. Like, it's for real. Like, also, have you ever gotten that in your eye,
no,
or
because
any type of hair product in your eye? Like, you used to have braids. Did you ever grease your scalp?
I didn't I didn't greet. No, I did use
You
that
should
phrase
have. You should have greased your scalp.
long time ago. Let me just throw this up right here. We're gonna try screen share live, and we're gonna see if this works. So this is a tweet from Amanda Serrano, who, if you remember, people, Amanda Serrano said 1 year ago today. Could y'all see this? Y'all can see this, right? Okay. 1 year ago today, I had to cancel my homecoming fight in Puerto Rico for the same mistake, getting my hair done 2 days before and then it burning my eyes from a run before the fight. Never again. My natural hair is just fine, ladies. This was in reference to Gervonta Davis here, saying he took a knee because he had grease in his eye. And then also being like, when the crowd was booing the explanation, being like, yo, why y'all mad? Like I'm saying some bullshit, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, that was that.
But
I love that. I love that part, actually. Like, why
but
y'all booing?
but Amanda Serrano was basically like, yo, like this happened to me. And I remember she came out with sunglasses and we were like, yo, is this fight gonna be canceled or whatever the case may be? Yeah, Arlanda, we're gonna get to that in a second because the hairdresser did respond, and now this is like Tank beefing with the stylist. I don't know if hairdresser was insulting, I meant stylist. So there's that. And then this also from beforehand, Angel Reese, WNBA,
Yeah.
legitimate star. Whatever product they put in Gervonta's braids, never again, because why is it dripping down like that in his eyes? She tweeted this before he took a knee, and then said something else after, like I told y'all, like after he took a knee, like this was happening beforehand. So I found it
Oh.
very interesting. Like this is something you could see during the fight. I couldn't see it from where I was sitting. You know what I mean? If you're watching on TV, you have a better view a lot of different ways because you have TV cameras. I was actually sitting next to one of the hard cameras. So that's around where I was at. So that was the media seat that they gave me for this event. With Angel Reese saying this, I thought about it also. Like, yeah, that must be some serious ass shit. I do want to pull up what the hairstylist said, so I'm gonna pull
I
that
want to
up.
see this too.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but
go
here's the
ahead.
thing. Like, do you think the hairstylist is just, actually, I don't know, right? Like, if I'm a hairstylist and I'm Tank's hairstylist, like, I'm not trying to mess that up. Like, I believe Tank. And it's kind of like this, guys. you know when you're like washing your hair, you ever get soap in your eyes? Like, I mean, like, you know what I'm talking about? You ever get soap in your eyes? It's happened before. It's like that. Imagine having a fight and getting soap in your eyes. How would you continue on? Drop your comments below. Let us know if you actually believe this. I do, because I feel like it's like such a weird thing to lie about, to be honest with you. Let's get to some comments while Bryan definitely tries to find the hairstylist. Mark says Roach hit him with the right hook and a braid flew in his eye. He dapped his eye, then took a knee. Okay. Okay. Let's go to You Don't Want to
It
Try
didn't
Me.
look like it was from a punch.
Yeah.
It
Might
didn't
have
look like
been a delayed reaction to the punch Roach landed previously, but don't matter. He took a knee. Dudes fight with blood leaking into their eyes. This is true. This is true. But I also think blood is a little bit, well, they're both bad. Like, what am I saying here? Someone's eye can be bloody as hell. Like, their whole face can be bloody as hell. Mark, the braid hit his eye before Roach double jabbed. Okay, interesting. Marlon 2631, a good friend of the show. The woman said different. Tank is lying. Like, who do we believe here? This is so much drama and so much tea. I love it. You
Here
know,
we
like,
go.
who's telling the truth here? Oh, one more comment before you hit that. Did
Mhm.
we read this one? Orlando, his hairdresser came out claiming she didn't use anything that would cause that. She even posted the bottle. Check it out.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it's here. So, and this is the part where I'm like, I'm not an expert in fucking hair and grease and all this shit. Because look, the braids,
Bryan used to have braids, y'all.
the
Okay,
braids
he used to
that's
rock the braids with a Jets jersey.
the braids she's referred to. I was 17. This is 2011. I was 17 years old. So you could do the math. So this is the post from the hairstylist. I think this is at Lieb or Liebe, the brand. Sorry for not getting the name correct, but like this is not my world here. Okay. Take a look around. You see an overload of grease anywhere? Question mark. Newsflash, you're not. I feel like that's something that could be hidden, but regardless, she is out here defending herself. This is the one that's really like, I think Gervonta Davis should answer for, where she's like, I did his hair Wednesday, so not Thursday. It's Saturday. He did press, gym, and weigh in. That's no excuse. How much grease did I use? Damn.
Hey, here's the thing. Do you
And
think he also greased his scalp himself?
well,
Because usually you gotta grease it yourself
he
too.
said he put some water on it earlier that day on Saturday. And to be fair, like I'm thinking about it now, Wednesday at the media workout, his hair did look done, but he
Yeah,
also had a hat on. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I don't really know what the process here. So here we go. She's reposting somebody saying, like, don't make my girl the reason for it being a draw. The grease in question, and then you could see here it's like some conditioning shining.
Mm.
Shantelle, I might have to toss it to you because I don't know what any of this shit means.
Well, it is the grease that you put on your scalp, right? So, because you don't want your scalp to look dry if you got braids like that.
Sure.
So you're gonna grease your scalp, like if you have any type of braids, right? Because you don't want I was gonna cuss a little bit, but you don't want it to look dry.
You
So
cook. I know. I get it. You're on TV, but like I do TV stuff too. I could, but the thing is,
I do cuss sometimes. Like I catch myself cussing on here sometimes, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh, why did I do that the next after? But
you're
nonetheless,
more formal on TV. I don't have to be. That's
yeah,
different.
I have to be. I don't have a choice. I will say one thing though is that for this, like when you grease your scalp, if it does sting when you get that in your eye, and I really think that Angel Reese comment, she said it before Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she could kind of see what was going on there. So whether you believe the grease or not, this is a big storyline with what happened in this fight for the majority draw. However, I still have Lamont Roach winning 7 rounds to 5. And drop your comments. Let us know who you had winning. Let us know how you scored it, because the official scorecards went 115, 113 to Tank, one judge. And then the other two judges had it scored as a draw, if I'm not mistaken, Bryan.
And you know, that was ultimately it. And I think we're done with the
Hair
hair
grease.
stuff for now. I'm sure there'll be some other controversy, some more unfolding as soon as we get off, because that's happened before.
Yeah.
Two judges had it 114, 114, as you mentioned. So there's a majority draw. The other judge had it for Tank. Look, I think if you're not going to score the knockdown as a knockdown, even though it should be, which we'll get back to in a second, then a draw is fine. But ultimately, the knockdown should have been scored, or the knee should have been scored. Maybe I should stop saying knockdown, but you guys get what I'm saying. Lamont Roach should have won the fight. Like, if you're just scoring the bout based on what happened, I think 7-5 is fair. I probably have it 6-6, but there's a 10-8 round in there, which would imply 114, 113 for Lamont Roach. Or if I have round 9 for Tank, that would probably be 115, 112. I don't know. But Lamont Roach should have won that fight, regardless. 7-5, I think, is fair. I think 6-6 with the extra point is fair. 7-5 for Tank. I mean, I want to rewatch this again without being in the arena, because you have the crowd noise, and again, where the media sits, you would think that there wouldn't be too many fans around, but there were. So that could sort of influence how you're looking at something, I guess.
I think we got to go to this comment because there's a lot of this online from Champy in quotes. It was hair grease, end quote. It wasn't a knockdown. It was a slip. Lamont took a knee too. These
Who said
excuses
that?
are hilarious as
Is
F.
that going around? Lamont took a knee too. When did he do
Yeah,
that?
there's like videos and
Oh, you know
everything.
what? Actually, because but that was like, I think that was in a clinch.
Yeah, it
They
was.
got tied up, and then he just, like, that happens. I don't know.
There, you know what? It's so funny because people will put videos together, but sometimes there's no context. Like there were in a clinch. So like there's no context to it, and they'll be like, oh, Lamont did this. Regardless, let's get to a comment here by Mark, who said, surprised it wasn't a DQ when Calvin wiped him down. Imagine Tim Tszyu went to a corner to wipe blood with Fundora.
So technically, by the law, by the rules, he should have been disqualified, Gervonta Davis. Like, when he goes to the corner and they wipe his eye or whatever. Like, there's got to be another way to handle it. But like, they should have scored a knockdown, and he should have lost via disqualification just because of that. We're gonna get a rematch. I don't know when, I don't know where, but they both want the rematch. It's just Lamont Roach wants it next, and Tank,
As it should be, though, as it should be.
the
Because
WBA
here,
won it
yeah.
next too, so maybe that'll win out. But Tank kept teasing that he's got something else coming. I don't know what that is. And Lamont Roach said, not Lamont Roach, Shakur Stevenson said he'll fight Lamont Roach if Lamont Roach can't get the Tank fight next. And Lamont Roach said he'd do it. And honestly, I think a lot of y'all will be bored by that fight, but that'll be a great fight.
Yes. Here's the thing that I do want to say. So I'm actually a Tank fan. I think he's one of the best lightweights in the world, if not the best lightweight. I've been saying that for a minute. I will say this though, Tank, if you don't have a rematch with Lamont Roach and your next fight isn't Shakur Stevenson or Lomachenko, I don't want to hear it.
Or Keyshawn Davis. It's not going to be Keyshawn
but
Davis.
It's not going to be Keyshawn because they're not going to do that to either of those guys.
Probably
right?
not going to be William Zepeda either. You know what
No,
I mean?
it can't. It has. And listen, I think Tank only has 3 options here that I'm okay with. This rematch with Lamont Roach, because I think Tank should avenge this majority draw, or Lamont Roach wins, and I'm doing air quotes again because technically, like, come on, let's be serious here, but not on the official scorecards. So Tank either has this rematch with Lamont Roach, or he fights Shakur Stevenson, which is the best fight to make in boxing, or we'll settle for you and Lomachenko. Okay, that's it. I don't want to see Tank with anybody else. Bryan, like, who else could he fight if it's not those 3 guys?
And now you've set me up to get into my fear. The second ranked fighter by the WBA at lightweight is, drumroll, Floyd Schofield.
Stop it. I swear, you guys. Do you want to see that? Do you want
Kid
to see
Austin, baby? Number 3 is Andy Cruz.
Do you think they do that? Like,
No,
do they think
but
like that's a good fight, but I don't think they put Andy in with Tank yet.
Here's the thing: if it's Andy Cruz, I'm intrigued, because I'm like, if Lamont Roach could piss off Tank, you know, how good is Andy Cruz really? You know what I mean? Jake Paul was actually there, Marlon. I want to know who's this person that came into Tank's dresser. Like, no one knows. None of the media knows. and Tank wouldn't obviously say, and his team wouldn't say, and I couldn't find out. So they're being really tight-lipped about that. No one wants to give it up. Adam Hurley had a comment I want to get to.
Okay.
I don't even think it's a big deal. Roach is a champion, and Tank had no motivation because everybody was criticizing the fight. I do think this reinvigorated Tank a little bit. I don't know how much motivation he had going in, which is a mistake because Lamont Roach is not somebody you want to sleep on, as we knew and as we know now definitively. But Tank was saying like his retirement plans. Like we put up a video, we put up the press conference essentially, like all the different parts of it that matter, and Tank was basically like, yeah, like I want like 4 more fights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that one of those is Lamont Roach, one of those Shakur Stevenson, the other
Has to
two,
be.
whatever. But I think this fight, like, it seemed to reinvigorate him in a way that instead of having one foot out the door, maybe he's going to stick around for maybe through 2026, because I feel like 4 more fights. If you have 2 more this year, which I doubt, because boxing. But if
Yeah.
you have 2 more this year, 2 next year, call it a day. Then that's it. Then fine. He's been saying he wants to work on himself, do therapy, and he feels like he can't keep that mean streak up and do therapy at the same time, which we've kind of joked about. Like, yo, Deontay Wilder started taking care of himself and they started getting knocked out. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a tough sport. Like, I feel like you can do both. It's kind of toxic to think you can't, maybe. Not toxic, but like it could be. But ultimately, like, he looks around and he's like, yo, like, I'm Tank. I'm the dude who knocks people out. And I feel like I'm not going to knock people out like that if I start, like, doing these other things to take care of myself, which is kind of crazy to think about.
The one thing that I will definitely say is after this fight, I kind of learned a little bit more about Tank, because for a very long time I was like, who's going to beat Tank? Who's going to beat Tank? And on my unofficial scorecard, I saw Tank get beat. I
Same.
will say, though, when we were talking about the fight, Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson, I was always leaning towards Tank. And I hate to say it, but I think Shakur Stevenson beats Tank now from what I saw, because is Tank going to get to him? Now, we don't know how Shakur Stevenson would take a Tank punch, but Lamont Roach was eating those punches. But
Hmm.
at the same time, I'm kind of going with the narrative that like something was off with Tank. Tank, it just didn't seem like a regular Tank fight. Now, we don't actually know. It's all speculation, and I wasn't even there. Like, I'm just watching this on TV. However, I think he has to have this rematch. Like, if I'm Tank, don't go fight whoever came into your locker room. Handle this first so everyone can shut up about it. If you do, because Lamont Roach could also come back and have a different game plan and be better too, because he has a very
Sure.
high IQ. So it's not for sure given that Tank beats him. That's not for sure. But I think the only route for him is to have this rematch, and then fight Shakur or Loma. That's it. And I don't think boxing fans want to see anything else, Brian.
Is I thought about this during the fight, or after the fight, rather. Is Gervonta Davis, Roy Jones Jr., and Lamont Roach's Antonio Tarver?
I
Like,
saw I saw a bunch of that online. Everyone kept
like,
on tweeting that
like,
online.
like, like, because some dudes are just kryptonite for other people.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I think most people historically would say, or not most, pretty much everyone historically would say Roy Jones Jr. is better than Antonio Tarver, but Antonio Tarver knocked him out, and then they had that close, debatable decision that a lot of people thought Antonio Tarver should have gotten the win that didn't, which forced the rematch to begin with. And I don't think Lamont Roach is gonna knock Gervonta Davis out in the second round of the rematch or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this to me is like, to assess where Tank is, you could only go off of what you see here. And if you feel like what you saw here was a diminished version, in large part because of his own doing, then I guess you got to wait and see how he looks in the rematch to really assess where he's at. Or you could just be like, hey, he kind of dropped the ball here. Like, I don't know, is Ring Magazine all of a sudden going to drop them out of the pound for pound rankings, or Ring
No.
Mag, like, are people going to drop him out of the pound for pound rankings? There are people who didn't have him in the pound for pound rankings to begin with, which I think is a little crazy. But
I
now,
think
like,
those people are Tank haters. I hate to say it, but I think there's no in between with Tank. I think either you rock with him and you love him, or you just don't like him. Like, I think that's his fan
we're
base.
probably in between. Like, we're just, but we're,
I
I
I,
mean,
I would
we're
say I'm
doing
a
this. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I would say I'm pretty fair. I think you can tell that I do like Tank as a like boxing fan, obviously, because I think he's exciting to watch. Like you got to watch Tank. However, like in a fight like this, if I feel like Lamont Roach won, I'm gonna say it. So that's just how I feel about it. Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything.
yeah, I think Tank is great, supremely talented, flawed, also has a bit of a history outside the ring.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
not awesome.
Let's try not to focus on that though, right? Because then we'd be in a whole different other game. Like if you think about it, I try
I
not to focus
mean,
on that.
look, it's boxing. Most
Yeah.
not I'm not gonna say most, but
Don't say most, but
a lot of people got a little bit of a history in this
abort the
sport.
mission. Abort the mission.
Yeah, sure. Um, I'm looking at this WBA rankings again, by the way. Jesus. So there's not even a number one. So there's not even a mandatory now. I guess
Yeah.
that's why the WBA could just be like, hey, you and Lamont Roach, do it again. And yeah, that's the fight we need to see. Because other than that, Schofield is second. He was 13 by the WBC fighting for their
It's
title.
crazy.
So
It's
if you don't think
crazy.
he'd get a title shot, then Andy Cruz is third.
They are going to start
Maxi
pushing Matt. They are going to start pushing Andy Cruz a little bit harder.
Maxi Cruz is fourth.
I don't want to see any of them. I do like. Okay, so Marlon 2631 said this. Low key, I like Andy Cruz versus Tank. I like it too. I just don't know if it happens now. Andy Cruz is sneaky good, guys. Sneaky good. Like a Cuban fighter that's a little bit older. Obviously, the history of Cuban fighters. If you are a boxing fan, they always start a little bit later. Bryan, any final thoughts before we get up off this topic? Because we have one more to go.
Fradamil Makayo is fifth. Do you know
No,
who that is?
no. Let's stop. Let's stop. Let's stop, guys. We don't want to see this,
Edwin De
right?
Los Santos is six. These rankings are fucking bad.
It's
Lucas
weird.
Body is seven.
Okay, Lucas Body. Okay,
Yeah, but I don't want
okay,
to see Tank fight him.
okay. But I'm just saying okay
That's a
because
get right
he's
fight for Tank.
Canadian.
No disrespect.
I know, but he's Canadian. I
Frank
think he's
Martin eighth.
fighting.
Frank Martin's eighth still. Um,
Lucas Body is ranked over Frank Martin.
well, Frank Martin lost to Tank, so that makes sense.
Well, I mean, but who does Lucas Body have on his resume? Like,
Other
no disrespect to the Canadian.
to Ace 2-0 Silv, like that's the big win that he has, and he beat
Yeah,
another undefeated fighter in his last fight, although that one was very
yeah,
close. Yeah, he's actually fighting this Friday in
yeah,
Toronto.
yeah. I've seen the promo for the card everywhere. Brian, we got to talk about one more fight because I
It's a
think this
tough
was a
fight too. Shit, guy you're
Gary
fighting is undefeated.
Antuanne Russell beat Jose Valenzuela to take the WBA super lightweight title. Your thoughts on this fight? I mean, going into this, the odds were very close, but did you expect it to go down the way that it did?
Nope.
Yeah.
I ended up okay. Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all something. This is between family friends of the show. There's a thing like I have some voodoo attached to me. I think there's a Brian Jinx. The Brian Jinx is basically there are athletes who I've interviewed, who I've done content with or whatever, and if they haven't like for whatever reason this happens, this happened to Peter Quillen among others. It's happened to Curtis Stevens. Like if I do an interview with them or if I reach out to them for an interview and they don't answer, they lose their fight. It's a weird fucking thing. I went to when I was still in college, I wanted to interview Peter Quillen for the student newspaper. I think I've told Peter Quillen this story because we've actually connected and I've done an interview with him since. Which is a fucking fascinating one, by the way. He left me on red before his fight with Danny Jacobs. And we know what happened in that fight. Curtis Stevens, I don't remember when I was trying to get at him. It might have been before the David Lemieux fight or whatever, but it was before a fight he got knocked out. So the point is, I interviewed Rayo Valenzuela, put it up on my YouTube channel, which Shantelle said I should do. He didn't repost it or anything like that, which I didn't expect, honestly. He doesn't use social media like that, blah, 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 whatever. And he got his ass fucking torched. Like, I have a long list of examples, Shantelle, of athletes who, like, they've gotten hurt after, they've lost after. There's a list somewhere that I got to find it, but there's at least like 12 athletes on this list, probably more. And after he didn't, this is gonna sound stupid. This is gonna sound fucking stupid, I know. But after he didn't repost it, I was like, Gary Antuanne Russell's gonna beat the shit out of him. I'm gonna bet on him. And I bet my money on Gary Antuanne Russell because this jinx has been following me for like 9-10 years. And Gary Antuanne Russell had the performance of the night. No one looked better than him. No one looked better than him on this card. He won every single round. He won every single minute. He
Yeah.
destroyed Rayo Valenzuela, a fight that was purported to be a 50-50 fight beforehand, and it was going into it. And that is what Isaac Cruz, people thought he was going to do to Rayo Valenzuela. And
Hmm.
it did not happen. Like, that's how you fight with pressure, where every time Rayo lands on him, he lands on him harder and throws a couple extra punches where, yes, he could take some of Rayo's offense, but then keep moving forward. It was like Rayo wasn't even hitting him that hard. He looked uncomfortable from the jump. Gary Antuanne Russell's performance was sensational. Like, and again, the fucking musical chairs at 140, Shantelle. We have another new champion in this weight class on a night where Subriel Matias wins by knockout and might fight Richardson Hitchens next after we get Teofimo Lopez versus Arno Barbosa announced. Like, 140, again, just shaking shit up.
Yeah, we got to get to a couple of comments as well, Brian. Foxy says, fair play to Russell. I thought Valenzuela had a chance. I thought he did as well. But I
Me
think we all
too.
kind of knew that Gary Antoine Russell was kind of a dangerous fighter in this fight that could get it done. And I didn't expect him to annihilate him in the ring. Like, this was an embarrassing performance because the
Bad.
way that Gary Antoine Russell fought, like the pressure, he was winning every round.
Every second. I think I'd
Like,
rather
it
get
was.
knocked out. I think I'd rather get knocked out than get my ass whooped every round like that.
And here's a question. Actually, let's get to some more comments, and I have a question for you, Brian.
Yes.
Marlon 2631. Gary was fighting like he was down on the cards.
Swear.
It's
Swear.
true. He pretty much, it's true, yo.
That Russell
Orlando,
family.
they're serious, yo.
Man.
Orlando. Jose Valenzuela got super cooked. Gary did his thing. Yes, that's a couple of comments from Orlando. Listen, I think it was one of those things for me where it was like, okay, this is the Gary Antoine Russell we've been trying to see. Because he's had some performances in the past where I have not been impressed. But the way that he made a champion look this past Saturday, ridiculous. Like, right now, because he has a belt as well, right? He's got a title. Like, when we're talking about 140, we talk about it's kind of a mess. It kind of is, because it's been musical chairs. Like, where would you rank Gary Antoine Russell after seeing that performance, Brian, and you're thinking about those 4 champs? Like, where are you ranking him after that performance?
Just depends on the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, because Richardson Hitchens not beat the shit, outclassed Liam Paro, who outclassed Subriel Matias and got away with a lot of holding, but outclassed Subriel Matias in Puerto Rico. And then you have on the WBO side of things, Teofimo Lopez is holding it down, but we know he's always kind of liable to have a slip up every now and again. We'll see what happens. Like, if he snoozes on Arno Barbosa at all, and this could be a matchup problem for Teofimo if he isn't careful. I would still say, like, pure talent, just in pure talent, Teofimo Lopez is probably the guy, quote unquote, in this weight class. But I think even that's debatable when you include Gary Antoine Russell, because Gary Antoine Russell, uniquely, we talked about this, he didn't even deserve this title shot, because it's like, yo, you lost to Alberto Puello. How are you getting another title shot? But at the same time, going into it, I was kind of like, man, he could beat Rayo Valenzuela. Like, go back and look at the show we did when this got announced. When this card got announced, I was like, man, I might bet on Gary Antoine Russell, because even though he doesn't deserve this title shot, like, he's good enough to beat Jose Valenzuela. I didn't think it'd be like this, but clearly he's good enough.
What do you think went wrong for Jose Valenzuela?
Everything.
Was it just the game plan?
The fight started, Gary Antoine Russell was in his grill. He tried to outbox him the same way he did Isaac Cruz. And yeah, Gary Antoine he's bigger. He's a better athlete. He's stronger at this weight class than Isaac Cruz is. Like, yeah, it's just not. He prepared for the fight, but I think he prepared for maybe a different type of fight. Like, I don't think he expected, because he had told me that he thought Gary Antoine Russell was sloppy in the Alberto Puello fight, which he kind of was at moments. Like, on the inside, he was just loud and looking like he was working, but he wasn't really landing much or whatever. But he did that against Jose Valenzuela, and he was landing. Like, Alberto Puello, maybe he's craftier. I don't know what it is, but.
So when you donate to the show, your comment gets put up right away. This is from Matt. I'll let you pronounce that, Brian. I don't want to mess it up.
Borgerson, I
Let
think.
us know if it's right. But
Yeah.
Matt says
I don't know why you
Gary,
tossed it to me there.
because I didn't want to be disrespectful and mess it up. I felt like I was going to stutter through the
It's
whole
not,
thing.
last name
It
is
was a
not
tongue
my
twister.
background, you know. Salute to
Hey,
Matt. Let's read
I
the
don't know.
comment.
Listen, you're an author, Brian.
Gary
Okay, I just
Antoine Russell. Gary Antoine Russell. This is not untrue.
yeah,
Gary Antoine Russell has a lot of flaws that Ryo was just as flawed in. Russell is very robotic. Smothers were constantly very awkward form.
very awkward.
And but you know what? Like he made it an inside fight, which is I don't think that's what Ryo wanted, and he made it his fight like from the jump. Like you watch round one
The
again.
pace and everything too. Like
Yes,
the pace
yes,
favored Gary Antoine Russell, and that was the one thing that I noticed right away. And I said, if Jose Valenzuela doesn't make the adjustments, which he didn't, like where were the adjustments during this fight? And they continue on with Gary's pace. There's no way he was going to win that fight right away. So I mean, I don't know what went wrong there with the game plan. I like that he did have his moment in beating Isaac Cruz. I thought it was great. I thought it was great for the sport. But now Gary Antoine Russell is in there, and I think he's kind of a wild card, Brian, that could beat anybody in this division.
yeah.
And we've said that. It's just he's had performances in the past that haven't looked good, but also the Russell family was going through some things, outside of the boxing ring. But they're a
Yeah.
boxing family. They're extremely talented. And this was the performance of the night. Like
It
this was
was
one of the best performances
1000%.
so far. I think you could even argue it's one of the best performances of this year.
So far, yeah.
Yeah.
No, seriously, like to shut out a champion like that, basically. I think there was a judge, one or two judges gave one round to Rayo Valenzuela, and honestly, I don't even know where you could find it, but okay. I think also, oh, we got another super chat from Matt.
Oh,
Thank you
thank you,
for your
Matt.
generosity. The pace was huge, but I don't think he would be able to do anything against Puello in a rematch. He threw over 900 punches and landed low 20%. So we should talk about this, Matt. Thank you for teeing
Yeah.
us up.
Because Puello won.
Puello won his
fight.
fight against Sandor Martin. Interestingly enough, wasn't at the press conference. Tejas was, but
Yeah.
whatever. He beat Sandor Martin by split decision. I don't think it should have been split, but whatever.
Which we kind of knew, though, because Sandor Martin is one of those tricky fighters that when it comes to the scorecards, it might be a split decision. But I thought Puello won that fight. He should have won by a unanimous decision, in my opinion. But whatever.
in the arena. I'll just say a lot of people were walking around during that fight.
That's crazy, though. Maybe that's like a nerd fight for us, but I enjoyed that fight. Like that was one of the fights I was looking forward to.
Yeah, although I admittedly, like I myself went to get something to eat
Yeah.
during that time because it was a struggle to find something. During the Telez fight versus J Rock.
That's when I would have got something to
Yeah,
eat.
that was when I went. I didn't come back until Alberto Puello versus Sandor Martin because the lines were so long, and they don't buy like they would order from a restaurant for the media so the media could actually stay in the media section, but now they just throw everyone to like just be with everybody else, so that it's harder to do your job. So basically you get these vouchers so that you have to use the vouchers at one of the stands to get like the food at Barclays Center. And the food at Barclays Center, there's less options now than there used to be because a couple of things shut down. So yeah, what I had was pretty greasy, so I'm gonna say. Wasn't an early night for your boy. Anyway, Alberto Puello won, and this is who Gary Antoine Russell wants to fight next. He said in the press conference, he's like, that's the one that he wants to get. He said even if Sandor Martin beat Alberto Puello, he wanted to fight Alberto Puello. That's how much he wants this one back. And I gotta say, he didn't look great in that first fight.
Nope.
I do wonder if there are going to be adjustments for this one.
There definitely will, but let's also keep in mind going into that fight, I don't think people thought Alberto Puello was going to win that fight. I remember when that fight came. I don't know if you thought he was going to win that fight, but
remember saying that beforehand.
I was thinking Gary Antoine Russell was going to win that fight because I feel like there was more cachet behind his name before Puello ended up taking that fight. And then there were the questions about Gary Antoine Russell. But at the same time, after this performance, I think it makes that fight so much more better. It makes it great.
By the way, this is an easy fight to make because PBC, 100%. Honestly, put Tank Roach 2 and Puello Russell 2 on the same card and
easy.
Like we're good. Like do that and just throw in a couple other fights and we're good. We have a card. Like those are two rematches that are worthwhile. If you're Alberto Puello, like what's he gonna say? No. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to get another title. You're gonna unify. It's a guy you've already beaten. And honestly, in terms of like money, I don't know what better options is he gonna have, because it's not like Alberto Puello is gonna get like a Teofimo Lopez fight. Teofimo
Hmm.
Lopez fighting Arnold Barbosa. Like, what are your options at this point, right?
Yeah.
Sandor Martin was the ranked number one contender for the WBC, and then after that, you have Dalton Smith, Isaac Cruz, Lindolfo Delgado, Josh Taylor, Liam Paro, Subriel Matias, Jose Ramirez as the top 8, which is actually pretty formidable when you
It's a
compare it
very,
to other
very good top
rankings.
8, dude. That's a very good top 8.
Yeah, like, but like Puello, Alberto Puello versus Isaac Cruz, though, like that's an interesting fight. Like, I don't think this is gonna
I just
happen.
take Puello all the time. I actually really like Alberto Puello. I think he's one of the most underrated boxers right now. People don't give him his credit, but he's winning fights, man.
Alberto Puello versus Isaac Cruz would be fun.
Yeah.
I think he'd win that fight
He
too.
would. He would win that fight against Isaac Cruz. I would not
But
take Isaac Cruz in that fight.
I think he'll do the rematch with Gary Antuanne Russell next. Andy Hiroka is the number one contender in WBA. I think PBC will be like, all right, move Andy. We're gonna do this, and we'll see what happens there. And then hey, less musical chairs at 140 if that's the case.
Yeah. By the way, y'all, tomorrow we will be having a live show in the evening. I believe we've set on 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time,
Yeah.
because it is the big press conference with the fight going down in Times Square. Rolly Romero, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Jose Ramirez, and also Teofimo Lopez and Arnold Barbosa Jr. Crazy stacked card. It's going to be in Times Square. We're going to find out more information, and we will be doing a show tomorrow night. So make sure to come and join us, and leave your comments, hang out with us. We're going to discuss it all. We're going to probably give like some quick thoughts on the fights that will be going down. But nonetheless, Brian, do you have any final thoughts before we get up and out of here?
I'm worried about that card because if you've never been to New York and if you've never been to Times Square, that ain't the place that you want to have something free to the public. Like New Year's Eve is always a shit show. Although less people are going to that ball drop shit than they used to.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna do that. I don't know how they're gonna execute that. The press conference itself is just it's gonna be at the Palladium, which is that's a spot in New York. That's gonna be enclosed. That's gonna be not free to the public. The fight itself, I don't know how they're going to pull that off. We got to get some answers on that.
Yeah, I think there will be questions at the press conference, but nonetheless,
if they allow it, because
oh
sometimes they don't
yeah,
do that.
I was just thinking, like, just as a fan, like, I would never go to that. Like, I would just get too much social anxiety because, like, it's Times Square's packed, man. I don't even like being there, like, on a regular day.
I live here. And I never go to Times Square for that reason.
It's just
I
too
never
much.
go there. Like,
imagine there's a fight with that lineup and it's free to the public. That's madness.
To be fair, the majority of New Yorkers are not going to know who any of these people are. Like, even Teofimo Lopez. Like,
that makes it worse.
Most people in Times Square are going to be like, "Who the fuck? What's happening?
That makes it worse.
UFC? Though. What? This is. Oh, who's this? Devin who? Devin Haney. Oh, okay. I never heard of. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, people in New York, there are boxing fans in New York who will come out and all that type of shit. But the vast majority, New York is huge. New York City is huge. Most people in the city do not know who any of these people are. So,
well, we'll get to it tomorrow. Make sure to join us for
Look at
our
Foxy.
Let's see what
I got
Fox
a ticket for Ben versus Uwe.
Oh, Foxy, let us know. Okay,
are those good seats. What arena is that in? Also,
I don't know, but
it's at one. I think it's Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, if I'm not mistaken, which is a soccer stadium that Spurs play at. And this fight, I'm not gonna lie, they've done a pretty good job promoting it.
Yeah,
the whole Chris Eubank putting the egg in Conor Benn's face after the whole steroid shit.
I like it.
I like Chris Eubank in that fight, not for nothing.
I do too, but I think Conor Benn has a lot to prove. But there's the storylines for it. So Foxy, we're not doing a post-fight show for that fight, but drop some comments.
Are you sure? When does that fight? Do we know this far in advance?
I think we do actually. I think I'm not going to be in town, but
it's April 26th.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be in town. I think I'm doing something April 26th. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm going to a concert on April 26th. That's why I can't.
Who you gonna see?
That's what I'm doing, huh?
Who you gonna see?
It's that concert with like Fab and like Ja Rule and Nelly. It's like for old people, okay? It's for old people like myself.
Yeah, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, NFL played. Yeah, that's what I
I
thought.
think it's on the 26th.
Fab was at the fight and got a big ovation when they
could
put
see
him
that.
up on the screen. Big
Oh, yeah.
ovation. There was like Jake Paul got booed by a lot of people,
Well,
as you
yeah.
would imagine.
Was
They put-
Brooklyn, of course, Fab would get the standing O.
Not standing O, but like he got a loud sort of ovation.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, yo, good to see that. PJ Tucker was there. He didn't get a reaction from the crowd, neither did Amari Cooper.
Yikes.
Wendell Pierce was there too. Saw him. If you're a fan of The Wire or Suits.
Yeah.
Wendell Pierce.
Anyways, guys, Foxy, have a good time at Connor Ben and Chris Eubank. If we do, I'm pretty sure that's when the concert is, or it's the 24th. I could be wrong. Nonetheless, though, if we do a post-fight show, we'll let you guys know. But we are having a show tomorrow. So please join us tomorrow. We're going to break it all down. Thanks so much for rocking with us early this morning. Back-to-back shows. Look at us go, Bryan.
Yeah, back-to-back shows. We'll be back tomorrow night. Recap the presser.